Looks like we got to have another conversation, guys. Guys, welcome back into yet another video. This is going to be a topic that I think needs to be expressed based on the fact of what's coming up and what's been happening in the space. What I'm referencing is none other than, of course, Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is going to be launching its pretty much final episode on November the 4th of this year. Now, this episode has been in the making for quite some time. A lot of people are probably going to watch it. It may end up crashing Crunchyroll just because it's the last one. And this one is held to be, I think, somewhat around 80 minutes or something like that. So it's going to be like a mini movie, pretty much. I'm thinking it's probably going to be somewhere between maybe hour and a half or hour 20 minutes or something like that. So it's going to be pretty lengthy. But there's two things that I kind of want to talk about in this video, and I want to kind of keep it as short and as concise and sweet as possible. But guys, before we do all that, y'all already know the drill and y'all already know the deal. Guys, if you are enjoying the content that's being produced on this channel, go ahead and feel free to hit that thumbs up button, that like button, as well as subscribe to the channel. Those two things are absolutely free. Doesn't cost you a goddamn dime, but those things help the channel, help us grow, help us be seen to more people. So those of you that do those things for me, I appreciate it and thank you. Lastly, guys, go ahead and share the content. As we all know, sharing is caring, as well as hit that notification bell. Hitting that notification bell at least allows you to be up to date and in the know for anything and everything that's being dropped on this channel. So, without further ado, let's get into the conversation. All right, guys, I just kind of wanted to touch base with you guys as we are ramping up and getting ready for the final act that is Attack on Titan. As I've said, the last episode is launching November the 4th. And it's expected to be like a mini movie, anywhere from 80 to 90 minutes long. I am anticipating it. I do want to see what it's going to end, even though we already know how it ends. Spoilers, just so you guys know. I've already read the manga. I already know how it ends. There's a lot going on in the space right now. It's ramping back up, as I said, in terms of like the whole AOE theories. If you're not familiar with the AOE, that's an anime-only ending. So those theories are starting to ramp back up, as well as just a lot of other videos that a lot of people are putting out, just talking about it in general. Now, there's two things that I want to kind of touch base on in this video, and I want you guys' thoughts on this stuff. So I'm going to need you guys to comment, let me know what you guys think on these 2 points that I'm about to make, just so we can have some dialogue. Y'all already know, if I can and when I can, I do like to comment and leave comments back and have dialogue with people and stuff like that. I think it's pretty cool to do. Okay, the first thing that I kind of want to touch on, guys, is for some reason for me, now this is just my opinion, but I feel as though that Attack on Titan waited too long to capitalize on the hype that was the show. Now, I'll tell you what I mean by that. What I'm saying is that it's taken so long for this episode to come out that people have pretty much kind of moved on, if you will, to other avenues or other things or other animes that has come out. I mean, me and personally, I've pretty much kind of moved on from the whole Attack on Titan train because, just being honest with you, it's been so long since the last episode, and these guys are kind of milking this thing and kind of just trying to get as much money out of it as possible, that I feel as though the length of time that it has actually been a detriment to the show. It's kind of lackluster, if you will. I'm excited for it, as I said, but I just feel as though the hype surrounding it and the aura surrounding it has pretty much kind of died away due to the rise of a lot more popular anime, such as, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, hell, one of my favorites that I'm in love with, Hell's Paradise. These particular anime have kind of taken on the reins and the roles of anime in general. I mean, hell, you even got the Bleach that's come out. You know what I mean? One Piece is still going. So you have these anime that are constantly trending and constantly going and moving forward. but Attack on Titan has somewhat fallen by the wayside. Even though, again, Attack on Titan is still one of the most popular anime and manga ever, it's still kind of, to me, feel like it's lost its shine. That, again, I blame on the people that are releasing this stuff, like Mappa themselves, and honestly, Isayama waiting so long to do this release. Now, with the length of time that this release has been held from everyone, that's why a lot more people are coming up with the whole AoE thing, thinking that, hey, this is something that could possibly happen, because if it was just like the manga, it shouldn't be that difficult to animate in terms of just making sure that everything is lined up with the pages. Because to be honest with you, where they left off on the last episode, pretty much you probably got like 2 chapters left, if that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they left off a pretty decent amount, maybe 2 or 3 chapters. To me, as I said, I feel like it's lost its shine a bit, and hopefully it can get that shine back and start kind of pushing some more marketing material, if you will. So the last little bit of marketing that the show actually had was this 30-second trailer that just recently kind of launched, just showing little bits of what's to come and what's gonna happen and stuff like that. Didn't reveal much, but that's a nice segue into my next point that I want to make, because in that particular video, in that particular trailer, there was a line that was said that kind of shook the space up a bit.
アルミ、お前が言った通り、俺は自由の奴隷だ。
That particular line was not in the manga. That particular line is something that has kind of stirred the pot, if you will, of the Attack on Titan base yet again. Now, the reason that line hit with such fervor and such a punch is because of the simple fact that it goes in line with a lot of the other videos of individuals that were trying to push this narrative that Eren was a slave to freedom, his thoughts of freedom, and that's what it was, because even Armin pretty much alluded to it during the fight sequence that they had at the table scene. Now, for me, I'm going to be honest with you, that line did one of 2 things for me. Now, the first thing that it did was it increased my belief that AoE is going to happen. Let me explain. The reason I say that is because if that line was not in the manga, and that line is being delivered in such a way that he's speaking to Armin or having some type of thoughts or dreams or anything to that degree, that's a new scene or sequence that can be pretty much intertwined in the final portion of Attack on Titan. Now, there was something interesting that I saw that somebody put that said that that particular phrasing or that particular quote that he said was him speaking at the graves of his friends. I'm not saying anything. I don't know for sure. But I just found it quite funny that the last episode that aired, it showed feet, which was Eren's feet, walking on this path, right? He was just walking. That's all it showed. It didn't show nothing else. It just showed him walking. Now, my theory is that he's walking up to the tree on the hill. And instead of himself being buried there, Mikasa and Armin are buried there. That's what I kind of figured. That was the first thing that I thought, that, hey, he's walking up to the tree on the hill. Now, putting this line together with that and what that individual said, it can kind of make sense and allude to that. Now, I'm not saying 100% is certain that that's going to happen, but I can see that happening, to where he's walking up to the tree on the hill, visiting the grave sites of his fallen comrades, especially Armin and Mikasa, and he says that line. He may elaborate more after that, but he's saying that to a sense of, like, I'm speaking to Armin, just like individuals always, speak to the gravestones and the grave sites of their loved ones. He's probably having that dialogue with himself, mentioning Armin. That's the thing. That can possibly happen. I'm not 100% sure. I'll say don't get too goddamn excited, y'all. That's just Something that I have stuck in my head. It may happen, it may not happen. It is what it is. Now, that was the first thing that it did for me. I was like, that's pretty weird. That it kind of raised my level of AOE belief a little higher. The second thing that it did was it kind of made me a little irritated. The only reason it made me a little irritated is because I think that's a stupid concept. I'll tell you why. The reason I think that's a stupid concept is because you're stating that you are a slave to freedom. I personally do not believe that people can be a slave to that, to freedom. Because let's just be real here. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, we go with that theory, right? And then we go to when Kenny was having that conversation with the original founding Titan person, right? The king of the wall. And how they had a conversation about pretty much like, everybody's a slave to something, right? And Kenny mentioned that, hey, everybody's a slave to something, whether it's whatever, right? That's true to a degree, because there are people who are a slave to their vices, but everybody has their vices. Everybody's vices differ. Some people are a slave to alcohol. Some people are a slave to sex. Some people are a slave to money. It just differs per person, right? But here's what I think. I think that they're saying you're a slave to freedom because he was willing to do whatever it took to attain the freedom, even if it was the destruction of innocent people. He was willing to go that far to where I'm going to obtain my freedom, that I am willing to sacrifice the world to make my freedom happen. To be honest with you, I've never not said what Eren did was not selfish and not too far. Because yes, it was extreme. Yes, it was a lot. However, I also felt under the circumstances, based on the way the story was written, it was necessary. And that was due in part because the rest of the world hated them. The rest of the world had wanted nothing to do with them. They tried multiple times to try to get on the other world's good graces, if you will. Failed miserably. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things to where it was necessary at this point in time to take such extreme measures. Even though I don't want to do it, even though I don't want to kill everybody and wipe the rest of the world away, it's necessary to attain the freedom that I desire and the freedom of my people. That quote just doesn't align with a lot, because even for me saying that, I'm a slave to freedom, I don't see it that way. And the reason I don't see it that way is because if you want to go with that theory, as I said before, you could say that about anything. People who are willing to do whatever it takes for their family. They're a slave to their family because they're willing to do certain things that may not be morally right to protect their family. Now they're a slave to their family. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it? That's what I'm saying. Like, if we're going to go with that, then you might as well go with that for everything that everybody does. We're a slave to the system. We're a slave to the money, because in order for us to be able to pay rent, pay our bills, pay cell phone, pay the energy bill, we have to work. We have to do some type of labor. So we're a slave to labor, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't really say that. You can't really try to put such ambiguous term of, I was a slave to freedom, because what makes you a slave to freedom? That you were willing to fight for it, that you were willing to do whatever it took to attain it, that makes you a slave? Like, what entails of being a slave to freedom? You see what I'm saying? You can't just really willy-nilly just throw that phrase out there and not think that that's going to get a little backlash, because yeah, it may sound cool and sound like pseudo-intellectual, like, you are a slave to freedom. Your mind was once a chasm of free thoughts, and now the only thought that dwells within is freedom. Like it sounds cool, like, oh shit, damn man, that's some third eye ass shit, right? But the reality, when you break it down, is like, it doesn't make much sense. If you're saying he's a slave to freedom, you now have to elaborate on what is a slave. I don't really consider him to be a slave to freedom. I just think he wanted to obtain freedom for the betterment of his people. That's just what I thought he was doing. Was it a unhealthy obsession? Not really. I just think it was one of those obsessions of, I don't want to live this way. I don't understand how you guys don't want to live this way, especially in the beginning. Let's think about it from the beginning. They didn't know that the rest of the world existed. They were only under the assumption that the Titans took over, and the Titans were the things that caused them to not be able to have said freedom. So that's all he thought. Damn, we're just, pigs to the slaughter. We're just behind these walls like we're animals. I don't want that. I don't want just to be behind these walls like we're animals. I want to attain and I want to achieve something greater. I don't think that's being a slave. You see what I'm saying? That's not what it was. We're just going a little too far. I don't think he was such a slave to freedom. I don't think that's the case. I think this is something that was necessary and had to happen for the betterment of me and my people. It is what it is. Did you go too far? Sure. It was, like I said, it was extreme what he did. But under the circumstances, the way the story played out and the way the story was written, he didn't have a choice. It was either kill or be killed. That's just what it boiled down to. All right, guys. I think that's enough. I think I've talked enough. I think you get my point. I hope you get my point. You understand what I'm trying to say, or hopefully that I conveyed it properly to you guys. But that's just my little tidbit that I felt when I first saw the trailer and I first heard those words. I just don't really agree with it because the context is still lacking. You know what I'm saying? We have to establish what a slave is in order to be able to say such a quote. That's just how I feel about it. But again, I will say I am excited for November. I am looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. My level of AOE could possibly happen has risen a little bit. I'm still I'll believe it when I see it kind of guy. So I'll just wait for the finished product before I make my assessment on it. But again, I am still excited about Attack on Titan finally ending, finally closing that chapter and just going on and wrapping things up. Hopefully they'll wrap it up with a nice, beautiful bow and everybody goes home happy. So again, this is you guys' opportunity. Go ahead and comment, as I said earlier. Let me know what you guys thought about what I said. Let me know some points that you may have came up with. Let me know how you guys felt about that particular line and what your thoughts are as far as Attack on Titan as a whole and just different things like that. I would love to hear from you guys. So again, go ahead and like the video as well as subscribe. As I've said, go ahead and share the content. Hit the notification bell as always. But I'm out, guys. I hope you guys have a great fucking day. And I'll see you guys in the next one.